Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Connor Manning from Precision Leak Detection. We've got another job today. We're at Crestwood Community Apartments. I think I'm in Pompano Beach, Florida. I'm not really sure where I am, to be honest. I'm still new to the area. We're somewhere in South Florida, but we got a job on this community pool. It's losing water, so we're going to figure out what's going on. Boom! All right, guys, so like I said, this is a job on a community pool down in Pompano Beach, Florida. This is a residential pool, but looking at it, I can tell it's an older community pool. And to be 100% honest, a lot of times when you're working on an older community pool like this, it's really similar to a large residential pool. There's not a whole lot that's different. Sometimes with the newer, really large community pools and the mega apartment complexes, the really massive, beautiful pools, they're going to have things like 4, 6, 8 skimmers, a bunch of return lines in the bottom of the pool, multiple drains, water features, stuff like that. But this is a nice, simple, old community pool. It should be fairly straightforward. So we're just going to get started with the normal stuff like dye testing, listening with a hydrophone. And while I'm working, I'll point out whatever I can to you guys. And just like always, we've got our 20 milliliter dye testing pen and syringe. If you're a leak detection company or getting into leak detection, I'll link the one and exactly what I use in the description going to this product on Amazon. If you're a homeowner trying to find a leak in your pool, I'll link a more homeowner friendly dye testing kit that you can use on your pool. Okay, so we just got done with our initial dye test from the surface of the pool, and you guys should have seen that we found a massive leak in this shallow end skimmer throat. So as a leak detection company, I love it when I'm able to find something with my initial test of dye testing or listening with my hydrophone, because it gives me peace of mind knowing, hey, we've already found an issue with the pool that needs to be addressed. We know it has to be addressed. And then from there, the rest of the process is just making sure that we're ruling everything else out. So we're gonna start pressure testing. First of all, we're going to listen with our hydrophone, of course, but then we're going to pressure test the plumbing lines. We'll dive in, we'll check the structure, check the lights. We'll make sure that there's nothing else wrong with the pool, but when you find something early, it gets rid of that worry and that stress that you haven't found anything yet. So we found an issue with the skimmer here. Now we're just going to check everything else out. Okay, everybody, so we're done dye testing, we're done listening with our hydrophone. We've got this swimming pool all ready to pressure test, and then we'll scuba dive and we'll plug out the main drain, we'll check the lights, all of that. With the dye test, like I mentioned, we found a big leak in the shallow end skimmer throat. With the hydrophone, we didn't really hear very much, so the next step is to move on to pressure test. Just a couple notes with the hydrophone, guys. I've mentioned this in videos in the past, but with a leak detection professional, the greatest asset you're going to develop is your knowledge bank of past experiences, learning different noises that a swimming pool leak is going to produce, understanding what it sounds like when you get next to a broken plumbing line or when you get next to a crack in some structural concrete or a leak in a light. You also have to develop your ability to understand what nothing sounds like. When are you listening to background noise? As you can obviously tell, we're next to a very busy road. All of that noise is going to get amplified with your hydrophone as soon as you throw that mic in the water, because water and a body of water is a wonderful conduit for sound. So your hydrophone is going to pick up all this background noise, and you have to be able to sort through that as well. Even things like walking around on the deck. I wear flip-flops all the time when I'm listening to a pool and walking along the side of a pool. I can hear on my hydrophone, I can hear my flip-flops squeaking. If there's a paver deck, you can hear yourself stepping on the pavers, and if it's a sand base, you can hear that sand base getting compacted as you're walking across that. So you have to have a knowledge of all these different sounds. You understand what's background noise, what's flip-flops, what's a leak, what's nothing. But that just comes with time and experience with your hydrophone. So we'll grab the pressure testing gear. We're going to start plugging everything up. Then we'll get this pool pressure tested. And I've experimented with all kinds of different boxes to keep my pressure testing plugs, because once you have a full setup for every type of residential or commercial pool, this box is going to get very heavy when it's full of all your pressure testing equipment. But by far, this pack out, this Milwaukee pack out that I got from Home Depot, is by far the best box I've used for all my pressure testing gear. It's a little expensive. I believe it's like $180, $190 for this pack out, but it's durable. I've had it for several months. It still looks great, and I think it's going to last for a long time. So if you need a box to keep all your pressure testing gear, I highly recommend this guy from Home Depot. And yes, it is just an open box full of a ton of pressure testing plugs. So the best way to find the plug that you actually need is just open it up and throw everything on the ground. Okay, so we finally got everything from the surface all plugged up, so it's ready to be pressure tested. Like you can see on this pool, there's a lot of pool return lines, a lot more than typical, but that's just part of the job when you're doing either a commercial or neighborhood pool like this. There's gonna be something that's a little bit unusual from a residential pool, but we've got everything from the surface plugged up. Typically when I'm doing a normal lead detection, when it's this time of year and it's a little bit colder outside, what I like to do is I'll plug up everything I can from the surface, and I'll go ahead and pressure test all the surface lines. And then what I'll do after that is I'll go ahead and do the main drain. I'll dive in, we'll plug up the main drain, and then we'll pressure test that, and we'll kind of check the structure all at the same time so that we're spending a minimum amount of time in the cold water. But today, for the sake of the video, I want to do all my pressure testing at the same time, and it's not too chilly today. This water doesn't feel too bad. So we'll go ahead, we'll plug up the main drain, and we're going to do that with a bike pump, and we're going to do that with a regular inflatable pressure testing plug and an extension hose. So we'll go ahead and get the main drain plugged up, we'll get everything pressure tested, and then after that, we'll check the pool structure. All right, we've got our DOI wave belt here. So whenever you're getting ready to put this on, just make sure you get your buckle undone. My straps have come unstitched from one another, but just take a look at your shoulder straps, make sure that they're not tangled, and we're ready to go. We're ready to throw this thing on. How do I look? Am I cool yet? I'm gonna need a bigger inflatable plug. Okay, so that was a bit on me. I should have known better that the main drain line was going to be a bigger plumbing line. Typically, any commercial pool is pretty much always going to have like a 3 or 4 inch, a 3 or 4 inch plumbing line going to the main drain. So I should have thought about that. Obviously, that 1.5 inch inflatable plug, it's not going to be able to inflate big enough to seal up that main drain properly, which is why you saw me grab my 4 inch rubber pressure testing plug. That should be able to seal up the main drain line just fine. Just a quick note with the inflatable plugs, if you are getting into leak detection, you really don't want to overinflate them to a diameter greater than what that plug is rated for, say like 1.5 inch or a 2 inch plug. If you blow it up too far past its capacity, that pressure testing plug can literally just explode. And so one, it gets expensive, especially with my injection plugs, the 1.5 inch plugs that I use all the time. Those tend to break really quickly, and whenever that breaks, with shipping, one injection plug can be anywhere from like $150 to like $180, close to $200. So if you're breaking one of those every single week, you're throwing a lot of money out the window. So you don't want to inflate them beyond their diameter. Also, just for a safety concern as well, sometimes, say for example, if that injection plug is in a Janny valve or in a 1.5 inch pipe, if your head's right next to that pipe when that plug explodes, it can be really loud. Sometimes it can be almost as loud as a gunshot, and if that's right next to your ear, it probably could do some hearing damage. So it's much better if you can just go ahead and grab the proper plug, whether it's an inflatable plug that's bigger or a rubber pressure testing plug. That way you're just going to save yourself a whole lot of headache. But we're all plugged up. Every single plumbing line in this pool is plugged. So we're ready to go to the equipment. We'll start pressure testing. Okay, so as you can see, these first two lids for these Janny valves came off nice and easy, but this one doesn't want to come off very easily, and I don't want to put too much stress trying to pull this lid off, because if you put too much stress, even if you have all 8 screws undone, and you're trying to put too much stress trying to rip this thing off, you can actually break the door that rotates inside of this Janny valve. So we're never going to try to put too much pressure on this thing trying to get this lid open. So what we'll do is we'll just take a little flathead screwdriver and a trusty mallet like this, and we're just going to get that right under that lid. Just give that a little pop. We'll get this thing loosened up. Then we need just a little bit more. Let's see here. Should be about there. There we go. And you can just pop that thing open nice and easy. But you never want to put too much stress trying to rip that lid open, because you will just break. You'll break this door that rotates and closes the plumbing lines. This door will just get broken if you put too much pressure on it. So it's much easier just to get a flathead and a hammer so you're not breaking any pull equipment. Just to show you guys what I was talking about with these inflatable plugs real quick, I have an inflatable injection plug right here. And what I was talking about when these things get overinflated, this is a plug that I've only had for maybe a week, and I've used on maybe 4 or 5 jobs so far. But if you're looking at this injection plug, I can see that it's starting to get a little bulge right here on the side of the plug. That's a spot where this injection plug has gotten overextended, and so when they're about to break, they're going to start to get stretched out, and they're going to form a little bulge just like this on the side of the plug. So I'm probably only going to get another, week or so out of this plug, maybe 2 weeks if I'm lucky. But this is a $150, $160 plug. So whenever you can, try to make sure you're not overinflating these plugs, or else you're going to start losing a whole bunch of money. Okay, so we got our first suction line under pressure. We're just under 16 psi, and we got our stopwatch started. Just a quick note about pressure testing. I know a lot of guys like to pressure test plumbing lines with an air compressor. That's a lot of times going to be faster. It's going to be easier. You're going to have an outlet most of the time right next to the pool equipment. You can just plug an air compressor in there really quickly. I still typically like to pressure test plumbing lines with water, just because I'm trying to recreate the same environment when the pool's functioning under normal circumstances. So if a pool pump is circulating water all the time, I want to do my best to be able to pressure test a plumbing line with water to try to get as close to that normal environment as possible, because I feel like that's going to give me the most accurate results when I'm pressure testing. So we've got 50 seconds on the clock now. That's still just under 16 psi. So this first plumbing line is going to be good. I'm gonna go ahead and go through all these plumbing lines. We got 2 more suction lines, and then we've got 1 pull return line, and that'll be it. And all we've got left is to check the structure. Okay, so we've gotten to pressure testing the main drain line. We can tell it's most likely got to be the main drain line, because we're injecting into like a 3-inch wide PVC pipe. And I've had this water hose, you can tell it's wide open right now, and I've had it running wide open for about 10 minutes, and we're not really building any pressure at all. And so I would think, even though it's a big pipe, we should have at least started building a couple pounds of pressure. So at this point, I'll grab my air compressor and we'll start sending air through the line and see if there's something that I'm missing, because one, either we haven't filled the line up with enough water yet. The second possibility is that this pressure could be sneaking past my plug if I don't have it in that line, if I don't have it in that PVC pipe perfectly in the pool. So it could be going past my pressure testing plug, or it could have pushed my pressure testing plug out. there could be something that I'm missing. Maybe there's a line in the pool that I missed somewhere, or maybe the main drain is broken. So I'll grab my air compressor now and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on. So we got the air compressor hooked up, so we'll go and start sending air through the line. Okay guys, so this is going to be an example of why an air compressor is going to be useful at times for pressure testing. So like I mentioned, we've pressure tested this line for a long period of time, flooding it with a bunch of water, and it would never build any pressure. So what you have to figure out when that happens is a couple of things. One, is the plumbing line possibly broken? Two, is there something in the pool that hasn't gotten plugged? Three, is that pressure possibly escaping past one of our plugs where we have plugged up a plumbing line, but maybe it's not plugged up perfectly? Or is there something weird or something else going on? So when you hook up your air compressor, you can then send air through the line. And typically if it's going past a plug, or if you have a broken plumbing line, or if that plumbing line is connected to something else you didn't realize or haven't thought about, when you send air through that line, you're going to be able to see that air show up somewhere. So that's what I did with this main drain line. I sent a whole bunch of air through the line with my air compressor, and underneath this cover I started to get a whole bunch of commotions. So I'll send a whole bunch of air through the line now so you can see what I'm talking about. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but I've got a whole bunch of sloshing. So when you remove this cover, this is what happens. Wherever that line is connected, that air is then going to escape. So after I turned off my air compressor and let that water and air settle, you can see this main drain line is connected at the bottom of this box. So what is unfortunate is that I obviously can't fit in there, and I'm not going to be able to reach down there to get a pressure testing plug to plug that up. So I'm not sure what this is. I've never seen anything like this on a commercial pool before. So I'll have to do some research, or if there's any pool builders or pool professionals that have built a commercial pool and know what this is used for. If you can comment in the comments below and let me know what that is. But what is unfortunate is I'm not going to be able to get this main drain plumbing line plugged up now, and we're not going to be able to get a pressure test on that main drain line, which is a bummer, because I've already taken the time to dive in the pool, take off that grate, find the right size plug. So that means that we've got 15 or 20 minutes that we're pretty much just wasted for nothing, but at least we have an answer and know why the main drain line is not building. So I'll just let the pool company that I'm doing this job for know that the main drain line is not going to be able to be pressure tested because of that. So all we have left is to pressure test the return line and check the structure. Okay, so we're testing the return line now. This is our last pressure test. You can see that needle's right at 15 psi. It's been sitting there for 2.5 minutes, and that needle has not moved. So that's the last pressure test. All the plumbing lines that we can test are good. Just to show you what I did with the return line real quick, we've got the return line coming out of the filter here. That hit a Janny valve, and what this pool company did is they had this Janny valve turn closed to bypass their heater, and it was just running into this T and then going into the pool. So to be able to accurately pressure test this return line, you have to plug it in 2 spots at the equipment. One, I'm injecting into the return line here, but then we also have to put a closed inflatable plug where that line is connected to the heater. So we've also got it closed shut here because this is teeing into where I'm injecting over here. Or actually it's this guy here. So this is plug closed, this is plug closed, and we're injecting that way. So the return line is good. Again, taking a look at that needle, you can see it's barely moved over the course of over 3 minutes now. So their plumbing lines are good. So all we've got to do is check the structure, get everything packed up, and this one is done. Okay, so we're all done with this leak detection. We were able to test everything, of course, except for the main drain, and that will obviously be indicated to the pool service company so they know that the main drain was not tested. In that last clip where I was going over a few things with the surface, you might have noticed with the wall vacuum over here, you could see where somebody in the past had applied epoxy or pool putty. And I just wanted to show that pool putty really is a band-aid to any kind of pool repair. And you can see with my finger that you could literally just over time eventually scrape it off and see that epoxy or pool putty will just start to flake away. So I really don't prefer putting pool putty on a pool. I would much rather be able to have everything perfectly documented, have it in a Google Drive folder. I'll be able to send it to a homeowner, get them in touch with the pool companies that they need, the contractors that they need. So the contractors can see exactly what's wrong with the pool. They know exactly what needs to be repaired, and then they can help the homeowner get everything squared away. But I just want to make sure to document that with the portion of the video where we're showing the surface examination. So the only thing that we found was a leak in this shallow end skimmer throat. Besides that, the plumbing lines that we were able to test held pressure, and we didn't see anything wrong with the light or anything else wrong with the structure of the swimming pool itself. So they should just get that skimmer throat fixed and they should be good to go. But that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one as well. I'm really ready to try to start cranking out more long form content. I can tell by looking at the statistics and analytics on my YouTube dashboard that my long form stuff really does outperform by a large margin any of my short form content. So I'm really going to try to crank out more long form stuff as much as I can. I feel like I've at this point answered a lot of the fundamental questions. So my plan going forward is just to take you guys with me when I'm doing a normal leak detection like this. And as I'm working, just try to point out any little thing here and there that might help you guys as you're working in the future, just like I would with any technician that's working alongside me. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. If you want to see more leak detection content, see my company grow in Palm Beach County, smash the subscribe button to stay tuned for videos in the future. And if there's a question you have or you want to see a specific subject covered in a video in the future, let me know in the comments below, and I'm going to do my best to eventually get to that subject. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.